Hello, Yu-Gi-Oh players, and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. So today, I wanted to start a kind of piece-by-piece review and market watch for Shadow Specters. Since I haven't been seeing a lot of people doing a lot of market watch for the future with Shadow Specters, a lot of people do this kind of market watch thing where they tell you what to get rid of, um, and they tell you, what's at a really high price right now, but they don't tell you a whole lot about the future. A lot of people fail to analyze upcoming sets, and I want to do that more frequently as I get more information on upcoming sets. So I'm going to start with Shadow Specters, and this is going to go on for a few days. I'm just going to do one of these videos every day and just uh, see how long it takes. I have a few different things I want to talk about, like Noble Knights. I want to talk about the Spirit stuff and the new Boojins. And today, I am going to be talking about Ghostricks. So I've been getting a lot of requests to talk about Ghostricks. And I'm going to be honest with the people who have been asking about it, because usually people ask about decks like this because they're really excited to run it. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and you're not going to like this, but this deck does not look like it's going to be anything special. First off, though, before I actually get to why I am crushing your hopes and dreams, I want to point out a really important thing, which is do not be fooled by the wording for Breath of the Valiant on the wiki, because it's different from the wording on DN, and the wording on DN is correct, and the wording on the wiki makes this card broke as hell. The wording on the wiki says you can only activate one Breath of the Valiant per turn. If you control two or more Fusion, Synchro, Ritual, or Xyz monsters, apply these effects depending on the number of different monster cards you control. And then it has all the various ridiculous effects it could create. And the way that this is worded, it's if you have two Synchros, or two Rituals, or two Xyz, or two Fusion monsters, you can apply these effects based on the number of any different monsters you control, which is ridiculous, because you could go into two Synchros with something like Junk Doppel, and then just summon like, I don't know, a Junk Synchron or something that would summon another monster from the grave, and then you get a +2 off of this thing. A +2 in the form of adding any trap card from your graveyard to your hand, adding any monster from your graveyard or your banished zone to your hand, and adding one spell card from your graveyard to your hand. So, yeah. This is incorrect, and I am very glad that it is incorrect. The actual wording for it, if you go on DN and look this up, is that if you control two or more different types of, Fusion, Synchro, Ritual, or Xyz, then apply these effects depending on the number of different types of those particular types of monsters that you control. So, like, you'd get your two or more if you had a Fusion and a Ritual. And you get three or more if you had like a Synchro, Ritual, and an Xyz or whatever. So yeah, important note. Anyway, moving on to the point of this video, me bashing on Ghostricks. Now, the two words that come to mind when I'm looking at Ghostricks are slow and underpowered. These cards require you to set them on the board, first of all, and then wait for them for a turn to get their effects. And that would be great if their effects were broke as dicks. But the problem is they are not. They are effects like, let's see, Ghost Trick Witch. Let's try this. Which is when it gets flipped face up, or no, it isn't even when it gets flipped face up. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and change that monster to face-down defense position. It's like a slow and underpounded. Ooh, that was a weird Freudian slip. Underpowered Tsukiyomi. Because you can't normal summon it unless you control a face-up Ghost Trick monster, which means that you have to set it for a turn, and then you have to flip it face-up, and then you have to activate its ignition effect. So that one is not on the list of good ones. Spectre and Lantern are ones that I want to talk about. Yuki-Onna. Let's go with Yuki-Onna. This is the one that changed that when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, change the monster that destroyed face down defense position. That monster's battle position cannot be changed. It's a decent effect, since it just totally locks down one monster. Um, but once again, it's slow. It requires it to be destroyed by battle. You have to set it unless you control a Ghost Trick monster. So while Yukiona is a decent card, it isn't really going to make the archetype work. Now, let's see. Stein, I don't remember Stein. Couldn't have been that great then. Cannot be normal summon unless you control a Ghost Trick monster, but can be normal set, just like all the others. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense position, which would be great if it had a flip effect. But this card says when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add one Ghost Trick spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ghost Trick Stein once per turn. So all of these things are monsters that must be set face down unless you already have a face-up Ghost Trick, which, let's be honest, you're probably not because their puny is nuts. And then after you set them, they don't even get flip effects. They all have frickin' like ignition effects, or they have to be destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard in order to work. They're just too many things that restrict the abilities of these cards and the speed of the deck in order to make it at all good. However, there are 3 exceptions, in my opinion, to the all of this sucks ass. Actually, there are 4, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. First, we have Lantern, which can special summon itself in face down defense position when your opponent's monster declares an attack or targets a Ghost Trick monster you control for an attack. You can negate the attack, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand in face down defense position. Considering a lot of the decks that are going to be big after Shadow Specters tend to make sure that they only have one monster on the board. Case in point, Dragon Plants tend to, go for an Xyz or a Synchro monster that they know can be protected from back row and stuff like that before they go for the attack. This card is actually decent. It would be better if it ended the battle phase, but it also special summons itself in face down defense position, which would be great, considering the field spell, which does prevent set monsters from being destroyed by battle. Or no, it prevents your opponent from attacking set monsters or attacking directly while you control only set monsters. So that's pretty good with the field spell. But once again, it's a field spell, and the field spell doesn't have any overwhelmingly good effects. We'll get rid of Breath of the Valiant now. I'll get to that one in a second. Then there is Ghost Trick Qianxi, which, once again, cannot be normal summoned, but has to be set. Unless you control a Ghost Trick monster, you can change it to face down defense position. But this monster is when this card is flipped face up, you can add one Ghost Trick monster from your deck to your hand whose level is less than or equal to the number of Ghost Trick monsters you control. So even though that's most likely only going to be 1, unless you flip summon after summoning a monster, in which case it will be 2, this is pretty good, because it allows you to add Lantern, I think. And more importantly, it can be reset, since it allows you to set itself back in face-down defense position. It's got 1800 defense, which means it's more likely to survive any battle it encounters. And it can add Spectre, which is the only other one of the regular Ghost Trick monsters that I found to be any good. Which is when a Ghost Trick monster in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand in face down defense position, and if you do, draw a card, which is pretty decent. So your opponent destroys a monster you control, you special summon this guy in face down defense position and draw a card. Good stuff. I like that card. That card and Qianxi are actually pretty decent cards, but the rest of their support sucks ass, including Ghost Trick Caps, their field spell, which yes does prevent your opponent from attacking your face down defense position monsters or attacking directly. But that's it. I mean, it halves the effect damage that either player takes, and battle damage, except battle damage from Ghost Trick monsters. But really, what good is that? Like, they can destroy your monsters by card effects, they can bounce them back. If you're just going to be able to set 1 per turn, if you're going to have all this slowness, there's nothing to be worried about from this field spell. The only good the field spell does is it keeps monsters on the field so that Qianxi can add better cards to your hand. But really, the only card that's worth adding to your hand in the whole deck is Ghost Trick Spectre, which is a level 1. So this entire thing is just screams not happening to me. So then we get to the one card in the deck that is at all worth it, and Konami screwed up royally by making this card a generic Xyz monster. In fact, it is tour guideable or crane craneable. There, you can basically make him in any deck, and he has this fantastic power, which is you can detach one Xyz material from him and then target one set your opponent controls and destroy it. I mean, you can only use it once per turn, but you know, you can tour guide into that thing and blow up a back row or a set monster, and that's pretty awesome. But the problem is, it is generic, so it's never going to be used in the deck because, as of yet, the deck has gotten no decent support except for maybe Qianxi and Spectre. So I'm sorry to all my Ghostricks fans out there. Alucard is going to make a splash on the market. I expect this card to be about $5 to $8. Since it's a good Xyz monster and it has a lot of power, could even make it up to 10. But aside from that, nobody is going to use Ghostricks. So I'm sorry to all my Ghostricks fans out there. But I hope you liked the video anyway, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the rest of this series. I am sorry that this video is 11 minutes long. I will make the other ones shorter, I hope. But thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why. And then subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos and more Shadow Spectre reviews and better market watch, since a lot of this stuff that I talked about today didn't really make a splash on the market. I didn't actually get to talk about the markets, but I digress. Thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet.